Welcome to Beyond the Closing Table. I'm your host, Michael Martin, and I'm here to interview top producing real estate agents, mortgage lenders, and successful business owners. They're here to discuss their stories, successes, and even failures. I'm so excited to have my new guest, Mr. Stephen Dunn, here with Exeter Home Building Company. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and certainly love to hear a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Stephen, work at Exeter Building Company. I'm president and partner. Exeter's been around since 2016. Build luxury custom homes about 20 a year. So pretty high volume for a luxury custom home builder. Really put the emphasis on our clients and customer service. My background, to make it really short, I was an accountant originally. I'm a CPA, was a CPA by trade. And then I went into consulting, business startups. I tried to own a gym for a little while, didn't work out too well. Got out of that. Then I started working in building. Slowly went from the financial director to partner and president of the company.
Interesting. So when you actually started with Exeter, you were really on the finance side.
I was, yeah. When I started, I was working for a startup company that worked with ultra high net worth individuals, and I was starting to get into real estate investing myself, something I'd always been interested in, and met with one of the owners that I knew from a gym past life.
Okay.
And so he was looking for a financial director. So I came on and helped him out with managing their books. And then slowly my goal was just to do as much as I could, to learn as much as I could. And that ended up with me just kind of taking on more and more roles from that financial director spot. And fortunately, three owners, really appreciated what I did, and, very good mentors and managers, and kind of allowed me to, eventually get more and more involved in their business.
That's exciting. Did you ever think you'd be an owner when you started working for them?
No, I did not.
Okay.
When I went there, really my goal was just to learn as much as I could, which has always been my goal in every endeavor I've ever undertaken, is just be a top performer, work really hard, provide the best client service, owner service as well, and just really make myself indisposable and invaluable to them so that, the company succeeds, I succeed, I grow. The goal was always for me to own my own business and to do something on my own and to start something. So it just didn't work out exactly how I thought it was going to, but it's been amazing, and I'm very blessed and lucky of how it all turned out.
That's great. I feel like that's incredible advice for anyone that is an employee of a company, right? I think so many people look at their job as just a job, not necessarily a career, or they're almost looking for it. How can I work just as much to get basically, the owner worth of what I'm getting paid, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm getting paid $20 an hour, I want to do $20 worth an hour of work. I don't want to do $30 or $40 worth an hour of work, because then I'm getting ripped off. But in reality, I think there's such an incredible opportunity to show the owner to go above and beyond. And then opportunities like this obviously can happen, right? And so I'm guessing that probably, you've probably had that work ethic for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So really credit to my dad. He was kind of the one that showed me. He was a sole business owner, sole practitioner he was an attorney here in Raleigh. And that was always his thing, was he's like, put your head down, work hard. He's like, nothing can beat hard work. It's like I played sports my whole life. I was never the most talented, but I always strove to be the hardest worker. And that just kind of transpired from sports. I did military for 6 years in National Guard, did the same thing. And then just in work, I always just said I was always going to work the hardest. And I've been very lucky. Not everybody ends up in positions where your ownership or your mentors or your managers recognize that and reward you for it. So I have been fortunate that I've been able to have mentors and managers who've recognized it and then let me do more. So it kind of helped solidify the fact of, hey, continue working, work harder and more than they expect. So then you can ultimately get more than you expect. And for me, it's just been put your head down and grind. That's just how I think is the best way to get things done. And eventually you don't have to, but I feel like I think in terms of decades. I don't think in terms of years. I think how hard can I really work over a couple decades to get to where I want to go to? Because I think too many people are caught up in that instant gratification. I want to have fame in a week. I want to make millions in a week.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So since we started this podcast, putting this thing out, I've been learning a lot more about podcasts and, hopefully how to make this even more successful. We're really thrilled with the little success we've had just from the first couple episodes coming out, but and watching a lot of YouTube videos of YouTubers and that kind of stuff. And it's, interesting. There was one I was watching yesterday morning, and I assume, do you know who Mr. Beast is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So like the number one dude out there, right? And he was just one of the people they were interviewing, but one of the things he said is, go make 100 videos. and then talk to me after that. Like you're going to make 100 videos and nobody's going to watch your videos. Like it's going to be something, but you have to just keep working and outwork everyone else, because everybody else is going to quit long before that 100 videos ends up happening. Yes. Right. I think somebody said that there's, I've heard different, most podcasts stop after 4 or 8 episodes. So we'll get certainly well beyond that before we give up, if we ever do. So this has been a lot of fun. I'm super glad to have you here. So tell me a little bit about why you decided to get into the National Guard.
Yeah, so something I always wanted to do. I think there was just an element of service there that I'd always aspired. My grandfather was in the Army Air Corps, and it just always, he was kind of someone I looked up to growing up. And so I think it definitely had a big part of it, but it's really the service and the giving back. That's always been my big thing is, how can I give back to my community? How can I give back to the world? Because at the end of the day, we are very blessed, especially, fortunate to grow up in the United States, very lucky with all the opportunities we have. And so I just really felt like it was kind of my civic duty to go and kind of give back. May have also had a little bit to do with accounting, just got boring after a couple of years. So, but I thought about going in after college. My mom was the one who convinced me to stay and get my master's in accounting. But then ultimately just.
And you went to Chapel Hill?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Very
undergrad and 1 year of master's program.
I won't hold that against you. I'm not a state guy either, so I'm an ECU dude. So
okay.
Yeah,
you're fine. We're good.
But I'm also a Duke fan.
Less good, but
yeah, that's right. So you got your master's in accounting, and then after that, that's when you went in the National Guard.
I did. Yes,
okay.
I did 4 years at a Big Four, KPMG. Joined the National Guard, did a year of training, went through officer school. I went through a school called Sapper School, which kind of goes back to that hard work, dedication, putting your head down. It's a very unique. They call it. What do they call it? They call it 28 days in hell, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
And
this is part of the National Guard?
It is. Okay. Well, it was part of the bigger Army, but being an engineer, I could go to
okay.
Sapper School. So it's basically like an engineer expert. And so it's a tab, kind of like your Ranger tab, just less heard of. So it really taught you how to just grind, put your head down, work through pain, suffering, and how can you lead when you're tired.
Yeah. Yeah, that's challenging. It's, as I became a leader in, the industry and just in the mortgage world, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. And when I took a management role, right, which is like the first kind of considered leadership role, I realized that, the one thing that's really challenging about leading is you have to do it all the damn time, right? You can't just not decide you don't want to lead. And so that is, a lesson. It's one thing if you like, I'll just do this for a little bit and then don't have to do that. Well, everybody's watching, right? You've got to lead all the damn time. So, and when you slip as a leader, and we all slip at some point, right? Then people are going to see that, and then you got to pick yourself up and keep running with it. So I do think it's certainly, thank you for your service. I am a huge military, weirdo freak fan about watching every, documentary, every movie about, whether it's Navy SEALs or Rangers or any of that stuff. So I'm a huge fan of the military, and I'm grateful for those that have taken the time to, and more importantly, just the effort and sacrifice. I never did that. There's a big part of me that wanted to. It just, for whatever reason, didn't work out for me. Have a long history of military family, mostly around the Vietnam area, and I'm a big fan. So I'm actually on the board for an organization, a local organization called the Joel Fund, which is mostly the goal is to reduce or eliminate suicides, but it's to do it through creating opportunities for veterans as they're transitioning from the military to civilian life, because when you're in the military, all these decisions are made for you. When you get out of the military, all of a sudden you're making these decisions on your own, and obviously there's a lot of challenges that go along with that.
That's awesome.
I've been super blessed to be a part of that now for I guess 3 years or so, and it's been great to be on that board. I'd love to ask you a little bit more. So you said we're going to kind of maybe dive into a little bit of what you leaned in as maybe a failure for you. So you've clearly had some great success, but you mentioned that you decided to open a gym. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so actually in the middle of COVID, I decided that I was going to buy a gym with another individual of mine who at the time we were working together. Bought a gym during COVID, which was challenging enough as it is.
Was it an existing gym, or
it was?
Okay.
It was an existing CrossFit gym.
Okay.
It was a good opportunity. Something where that was my passion. I feel like my passion has merged more to business now, but back then it was really the gym, working out, CrossFit. I just really enjoyed it. I really wanted to compete in CrossFit, but again, I was never the most talented. But I would work 3, 4, 5 hours a day in a gym. Maybe not as productive, but it's kind of what we did. So bought a gym in COVID, rehabbed it, got it open after COVID. Ultimately, I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know how to work in a partnership. I didn't know how to define roles and responsibilities and who was going to manage what. So ultimately, there ended up being a bunch of gray area, and a lot of lessons were learned in that. I was very fortunate to get out of it without any harm, but it was one of those where it was hard to leave. I think I really lost my love of the sport as a result of it, but it also let me kind of take those lessons and then apply it into the next area that I went into, which is, of course, working at Exeter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I think anybody out there that's thinking about starting a business, there's a great book called The E-Myth Revisited. I don't know if you've heard of that book or not, but it's the basis of the book is where, you're a baker, you love to bake, and everybody says you should open up a bakery. Like, I love to cook, and one day I may be stupid enough or crazy enough to open up a restaurant, but my friends are like always telling me, Michael, you've got to open up a restaurant. And it's a long desire and passion I had for a long time, right? But and so the book is like, well, just because you're a good baker doesn't mean you're a good business owner, right? And so you might be great at CrossFit, but running a CrossFit gym is a totally different set of skills. And so you got to take the time, energy, and effort to be able to go and learn. Obviously you have a finance background, so you can manage that part of it, but it's the people, all those different things you got to do, the promotion. And I think, any business, you've got to really understand that just because you're good at this one thing doesn't mean you're going to be great at running a business for it. It's where I think the key part is you're right, the right partners. Maybe that one didn't work out for that reason, but you've got to have the right partners around and to help you kind of fill in the things that you're not as great at, because you can't be great at everything.
Correct. Yeah. I think you really have to figure out what each person's unique skill set is. I think you have to really know them, because when you get into a relationship with somebody from a business perspective, it just amplifies who you are.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe it changes you. I think it amplifies, and maybe you had a facade or a face, but your true colors eventually always come out in business. So really understanding who that person is, how they're going to operate, how you're going to operate and work together. But I think also most businesses do fail. I think most successful people, you don't see the 9 or 10 businesses that they do fail in. That's when we learned other lessons, to not make the same mistakes with their new business.
That's right.
You learn those leadership skills and learn the business management, people management. And at the end of the day, running a business is sometimes it's just people just need you to go and ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
It really is as simple as that. They don't need the direction, because if you've hired right and you have the right people on staff, then it's really they just want to feel appreciated and know that you care about them. And how was your weekend? How was your day? Because the rest of it they can do all by themselves.
Yeah, that's a great point. For us, when we hire, and listen, I have made an absurd amount of mistakes, right? As growing this mortgage business, and I've made a lot of bad hires, because most of the time I find when you hire, you're just hiring for a need, and you need that spot filled, and you're like, that person I think can do this, right? Instead of going through a long process of hiring. Because of a lot of failures that we've had, we've really changed our process entirely. It's not the right process for everyone out there, but ours is, we're small enough where I won't hire anybody without multiple interviews, usually even in certain different locations. So we'll meet them for lunch or meet them somewhere outside the office. And I won't hire anybody without the entire team being on board, because frankly, they're going to spend a whole lot of time together, right?
Yep.
And it's way more about the culture and the I don't want to say personality fit, but their vibe. Like, are we going to get with them? Are they like us, or is this going to be weird? So we utilize our core values. I don't want to get into all that today, but to use that to really figure out, hey, this is what we are like. This is what we are. And either if these don't resonate with you, this isn't going to be unfun for you. Like, even if we hire you and you just want the job, it's not going to work. Yeah. So it's taken a long time, but we've, fortunately, the last several hires have been really good hires because we fit those needs, and they've matched those core values.
I think interviewing is difficult because you don't get a lot of time with somebody, and with references, people are now that you really can't say anything negative anyways, and I don't think you should about a person regardless, because it may just not have been a good fit for you. I made a bunch of mistakes hiring when I first was given that ability at Exeter. I had some good people, they just weren't the right fit for our team and what we needed, and I got to the point where I eventually learned that within 15 days. You just try to convince yourself otherwise when you do bring somebody on. And I'd heard the mantra, and I thought it was really harsh at the time. Someone told me, and I read it in a book, and a mentor of mine said that you fire fast and you hire slow. The first part, I was like, that seems wrong. Because I've always viewed firing as I failed. I failed to train you, to teach you. And if, it was a long period of time, I agree. But that first 30 days, it's not a fit for your culture, because I can't teach people how to be a hard worker, how to have client service, how to care about people. I can teach you job-related skills. I can't teach you your attitude. And so really hiring from us has become more of, let me find out as a person, what's your attitude, what's your life goals, how do you work, how do you care about people? I can teach you how to train. If you've only been a builder for a couple of years, yeah, you're coming to a custom world. It's tough. But if you care about the client and you care about the company, you're going to do just fine. We can give you the skills, but I can't teach you how to care and how to work really hard.
How many employees do you guys have at Exeter?
We have 12.
Okay, very good.
That does not include the owners.
Okay, that does not include the owners, and you probably have a whole lot of subcontractors.
Yes, we do. Yeah. We have quite a few.
Yeah, it's not those 12 people building the 20 houses.
No, our staff is, we have 2 designers on staff, which makes it a little bit unique.
Okay.
So they help kind of with all the aesthetics around the house. I have a sales manager. I have a procurement and permitting, which is crazy, but in Raleigh, you need to have someone who just does permits for a job.
Wow.
Because it's so difficult. And then I have 4 project managers, someone who runs VP of operations, who's really kind of like one of my key men in the company. And then I have a client care manager who takes care of clients kind of post-close.
Okay.
Which I think is one of the most critical things we do. It's, how do you treat your clients after you've been paid, after you've gotten it done? How do you follow up? How do you take care of them?
Well, they're going to be crucial in one, like being a big headache for you or not, right? If you're proactive versus not proactive, because no house can be built perfectly the day they move in, right? There's going to be tweaks that have to happen, and also, so you're either just not going to want to deal with that, which is going to cause bigger problems, right? Or they can be your biggest fans that are going to help you find new clients, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Exeter was amazing. Let me tell you what they did, and even after closing, they did X, Y, and Z. I think so many people. And a home's a little different because you got a warranty you got to be attached to them for a period of time anyway. But so many times you buy a product and at closing or at whatever you're done with them, at the time of sale. And ultimately, if you stay engaged with those folks, they can be, literally the biggest supporters for you to help grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have to have a system in place. Like I've learned that very much the hard way. I found, on the mortgage and real estate side, most real estate agents and certainly most mortgage lenders after closing they may put them into a CRM and there's some email campaigns or something that's following up, but they don't ever actually pick up the phone and call them or text them or just check in on them. It's always generally about asking for a referral or something. It's really not about actually a real relationship.
Yeah.
And that is so much more important. Clients appreciate it so much. One of the things, we actually sent a ton of texts out yesterday, the snow day we had, right? To, I think it was something like 50 texts that we sent out to some of our clients over the last few years. And, just ask them how are they having fun in the snow? What's going on? Really just kind of checking in with them.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to get the comments back from them. Oh my gosh, I have to work. My daughter's out there playing or whatever. But, man, thank you so much for what you guys did for us 6 months ago or a year ago, right? And we're not trying to dig for that, but it's nice when that happens.
Yeah.
Very, very good. So talk about, since you mentioned we're kind of in that realm, what do you guys do at post-closing? How does that work for Exeter?
Yeah, so we have, like you said, houses made of living, breathing material, which is lumber. And so things happen. Nothing is ever perfect off of man-made. So at closing, we really try to tidy it up. So there's nothing that there is post-close. I'm not saying we're perfect because we're not.
Sure.
Of course there are things. I think every builder can say that. But once we have our project manager, I try within 30 days to get everything knocked out. Again, we're not perfect. Sometimes we fail. I try not to. But then we have that 30-day period. Then we have a grace. We call it a 30-day check-in. And that's where we'll come back in the house after you've moved in. You're going to see something that we didn't. We missed something. You missed something. The movers might have nicked the wall.
Sure.
So we'll come back in. We'll try and take care of the clients. And then really at that point, once that's completed, the client signs off and says, yes, we're done with everything after this 30 days. Then it goes to our client care manager. And then it's really up to him if he's available through our project management software. And we remind them at 10 months, hey, you should get a home inspection, which I push clients during the build to get home inspections too. But then we'll go walk their property with them and tell them, hey, here are the things that we can help take care of. And then our sales manager will get in touch with some of them again, to your point, just clients that you need referable clients. That's really what people are asking for. They want to know, who have you worked with, what's gone well, what hasn't gone great. And there's some clients on my refer list that they might not have had an A+ experience, but they've had we care about you a whole lot. And they can tell somebody, hey, when something did go wrong, they did come take care of me. They didn't just leave me and ignore me. Because that's the most important thing when it comes to builders. So many of them either go out of, they go bankrupt or they move and then who takes care of you? So
Sure.
having someone who's reliable, who does, multiple homes a year, multiple neighborhoods, has client referrals, it's really critical for the upfront part. So our client care manager does a wonderful job of that.
Okay, interesting. Tell me a little bit about your opinion of the Raleigh luxury market in general. Like, you guys are a luxury builder, and there's obviously several other builders like that. But tell me just overall, what do you feel like about the Raleigh market specifically for luxury?
I think you see it in all the awards that Raleigh gets. It is one of the top rated cities for people to move to. And so you're seeing people do that. A lot of our clients, we're about 50-50, people coming in from out of town and people that are kind of what we call move up buyers, or some that are, they're downsizing. And so it's kind of a hotbed of activity. There's so much going on. You have big pharma, you have big tech that's moving here, you have new companies, there are new manufacturing plants that need to have executives here. Apple is a huge one that's moving in. And so it's attracting talent and it's attracting people. And so that talent makes money. And as a result, they want to live in nice houses. Some want to be in highly dense areas. Some wants to be with a lot of land. But as a result of that, the luxury market really is booming. And then you have your baby chasers, people who are, 50, 60 plus, and they want to be with their grandkids. So they're following them, and they've done a great job accruing wealth over their life, or, saving it up. So then they're coming to us and saying, hey, I've got all this cash. I've sold my home in, Texas, California, Chicago, wherever it is. And they're moving here to be with their kids. And they want to have a place that the kids want to come to hang out with them. So I think for those reasons, it's been a real bright spot. Even when things have gone down, Raleigh's still been pretty good. Last year was not a great year, but for Exeter, it was one of our best years ever working with clients.
That's great.
And so it goes to show you there's still so many people that are moving here in that luxury high-end price point.
What percentage of your business is spec versus fully custom?
We probably historically have hovered about 60% fully custom pre-sale, 40% spec, our own inventory homes that we fund ourselves. Right now we're moving closer to a 70-30 split. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the client service, the client satisfaction side. I think that working with kind of the ultra high net worth in a past life really taught me that is really a special area to be. You get to meet some really cool people. You build some really nice relationships. You kind of learn how people make money, how they derive success. You can learn from, but they're also just really great people typically.
Yeah.
So,
do you typically manage that relationship, or is there a salesperson, or who manages it from the time someone reaches out to you? They've determined whether they've seen one of your spec houses or someone referred them to you. What does that process typically look like once they reach out to you guys?
Absolutely. So typically their first reach out is with our business development kind of sales manager, and he will take them through the whole qualifications. It's not just are you qualified to buy a house? It's, are you a good fit for us? Are we a good fit for you? That's a big part of that process up front. Getting clients, what do they need? What do they want? What do they don't want? And making sure that what they actually want to build is in line with their price expectations. Because that's a big one. I don't want to waste your time. I always say we're stewards of our clients' time and money. So he's kind of the upfront guy. Once we get to a reservation on a lot to do a custom build, or they go contract, then we'll kind of bring them in for an internal kickoff where he'll kind of meet the team behind the scenes that's working with them. And then at that point, the sales manager hands it off to their project manager. Then there's my VP of operations. He kind of oversees everything. So he's kind of that first lifeline if they need somebody above that. And they have my number. They know they can reach out to me. I still do a lot of the financial stuff behind the scenes. So I have some interaction with them, but most of them it's me either checking in or, I always say at our kickoffs, I'm kind of at your point of escalation. Fortunately, I really don't have too many of those because I've been able to build a great team. And then it just kind of goes with that project manager until we transfer them to the client care manager.
Excellent. And you said you build around 20 and about 70% now is fully custom versus that. And I imagine the ones that you're, just because I've been in a couple of your homes, and they are absolutely gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
A lot of just a major immaculate detail, right, in each of these houses. The features are just really, really spectacular. I must imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, that most of those spec houses, are they set up for parade homes, or can you utilize a custom home for a parade home?
Yeah, so we try to designate about a year out what we want our parade homes to be for the following year. I really like to have at least 2. We've had some years where we've had some more, but it has been our goal to make it so that every home, whether it was intended for the parade or it's not sold at the time of parade, is available to be put in. But really, our houses, my goal is that they have to be awesome. They are the shining example of what Exeter builds. And so being able to walk a client through that is very important to us. And so I want every house to be the same. What I don't want to do is have our parade home be this, this higher price point. And then a client says, let's build with you. And then all of a sudden, what they get is less than that. That's not fair to them. So we've tried now to build every house as if it was a parade home.
Got it.
And that way it could go in if it's available. But we've been very fortunate that a lot of our homes are sold. Like right now, I'm not sitting on any inventory, and I won't have inventory for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's great. I hate it that I don't have something to walk a client through, which is why we've started to implement a kind of a model this year. But it's.
So you're building a model home this year?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we have one model home. We have a community that's kind of a individually gated lot, private community. So we decided to put a model home up there to drive attention to it, because that is no HOA. You have large multiple acre lots. So putting a home up there to let people see, hey, here's the quality that you can expect from Exeter, and here's this beautiful neighborhood where you can have your RV, you can have your boat. You don't have to see your neighbors if you don't want to see your neighbors.
So where are most of the neighborhoods, including that one? Where do you guys build?
So Raleigh and Wake Forest have been our primary two areas. Okay. Or one of the few, I think, that have spent a lot of time just in Raleigh, and we haven't yet gone to Chatham. We haven't gone to Durham or Chapel Hill. I think it's coming. There's only so much land. Land is finite.
Sure.
So, we do probably 30% of our business, 40% is kind of we take an existing home that is old, it's unlivable, and we will tear it down. I really don't want to be tearing down homes that someone else can buy and live in. Mm-hmm. It's really the ones where, some of the people, it's sad almost that they have no one to help them. And so the houses are just completely trashed. They're falling down. So we'll do about 30% of the business is taking a house down in the city limits of Raleigh and then rebuilding something. And what you see in North Hills, but Wake Forest, we have subdivisions as well that we do work in.
Okay. Very good. Let me go back to transitioning a little bit to when you started with your company. Now, you've had a couple different roles within Exeter, right?
Yes, I have.
So when did you become president?
I became president last year.
Okay.
Like June of last year.
So pretty quickly from coming into the company. And is that when you also became a partner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when I kind of joined in, and the owners were kind enough to let me.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about kind of the emotional state and like how were your expectations of all of a sudden now becoming the president of this company that's, got, I don't know what kind of $1 million in sales, but a lot of $1 million in sales, because your houses are well over $1 million. So how was it like, what was it like for you, and what were your expectations?
Yeah, so I think going back to what we talked about before, it's just when you go to work for someone, my goal has always been to treat it like it's my own, and care about it as much as the ownership. One, it's job security, but number two, it's just, I think that's how you get the most trust. That's how you grow the most. So like you asked before, did I expect to be an owner? Did I expect it? No. Did I want to show my worth to make it possible? Yeah, of course. That was my goal in everything that I did from accounting moving forward. But I think really because I had that mindset of I want to care as if I'm an owner, when I did become president and partner, and when I went from financial to COO and then to partner, not really much changed in the way that I viewed the company or the way that I ran kind of the roles that I had, just because I'd always taken it with that approach of I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm going to try to be the best. I'm going to treat this as if this is my own. And I do think that was a big reason why ultimately the three partners did say, okay, we trust him not only to manage multiple millions of dollars, because it's not just revenue, it's how much debt you have too that you're carrying. Sure. And that's a big trust you have to weigh on somebody, but also just kind of managing the people in the company and growing it and continuing it. So I think that's kind of, in my opinion, why I didn't feel like much changed. And I hope that all my employees that we have feel the exact same way, that the Stephen that was there as a financial director is the same Stephen that he is as a partner. Yeah,
that's actually very crucial in that role. Well, obviously it's exciting to see what you're doing there. I want to go a little bit more on the personal side. Where are you from originally?
I'm actually from Raleigh.
Okay.
So I tried to get away. I tried to go to Columbia, New York City, tried to go to Emory and Atlanta for college. I didn't want to be in Raleigh. I wanted to broaden my horizons. I went to Chapel Hill.
Okay.
Then I thought I would transfer out because I was a big tennis player. Thought I'd transfer to go play tennis. I had a couple places I could have gone, but I loved UNC. I loved Chapel Hill. It was convenient. I still taught tennis here in Raleigh, so I'd come back. And so I just kind of stayed in this area my whole life. And even when I went consulting, I wasn't able to get any further than Charlotte, and met my wife here in Raleigh, of course, right as I moved. So I ended up moving back, and my boss in Charlotte at the time, who's great mentor and someone I still try to stay in touch with. He was gracious enough to let me move back. Then COVID hit, and then it was just working from home all the time.
Yeah. So, how long ago did you get married?
I've been married since 2020.
Okay, so you got married during COVID.
Yes, I did.
How about that?
Yeah.
How was that, by the way?
It honestly was wonderful. For me, it really let us. I didn't have to spend a lot on a wedding, which I think was sad to a degree. So you couldn't have the wedding that I think that you dreamed of. But ultimately, what we found is that having a close, intimate setting the way we had it was almost more impactful. I got to see everybody. I got to eat, which was nice, but I got to actually talk, get around to everyone. So both my dad and I agreed it was probably even better than the larger setting. So I'm sad some people couldn't partake, and we really didn't ever have a first dance. So I mean, there's some things there that we're a little bit sad about it, but at the same time, it was still so it's really a wonderful experience.
That's great. So COVID seems like it was so many years ago, and it also seems like it was just yesterday. It's like the weirdest thing, craziness of our world and our real estate world, right? We didn't know what the heck was going to happen for the first few months, and then all of a sudden, bam, it just blew up.
Yes.
We're still kind of dealing with that. As far as your family, so I think you told me you have twins, is that right?
Yes, I do too. 15-month-old twins.
Okay, so you and your wife get to manage handling 15-month-old twins at the time. I think I mentioned I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and so there's a whole lot of experience that you have in front of you that's going to be a lot of fun. You just get double of it at the same time. Excellent. So what else is there? Is there anything particular, like any other challenge that you feel like you faced, coming through college? You've gone through a whole lot of experiences as you've gotten to the role that you're in now. Anything else, any other challenge that you feel like really taught you or helped you become kind of who you are and, to be prepared for what you're doing now?
I think it's a great question. I was very blessed growing up. I mean, I didn't have more than enough, but I had enough. So I think I learned a lot of lessons kind of as a kid growing up. Very fortunate to have a father who really implemented the hard work, how to manage your life, how to manage money, how to love people. So it's difficult to say kind of, what other challenges that there were that kind of came through. I think the biggest challenges are the ones inside my own head. That's always been my challenge, even playing sports. I was a head case playing tennis, and I think it impacted me a lot. And so it's just, I've always had this feeling of, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Am I the one that should be running a company? I always have that imposter syndrome. So I think working through that is something I've always continue to struggle with, to be completely honest. Having kids was hard. Having kids and having to kind of refigure out how to structure your life, because I am pretty structured and I don't time block or anything like that, but that was kind of a big challenge to learn. Okay, how do I run a company, still have my life, but don't detract the fact that my family has to come first.
Yeah. I think it's crucial when you run a business and, obviously run a household or at least lead a household. Although, if your wife's anything like mine, she certainly does a lot of the running there for me, thank goodness. How you got basically, a year and a half, not quite a year and a half year old. So you two of them. So how do you manage that? Like, how does that work for you?
I'm so blessed to have my wife as kind of my partner in this. She still works, but she manages so much in the house. I really couldn't be successful without her. Sometimes I probably put too much of a burden on her with what she does have to do, but really that's really how we manage it. And then it's for me, I've always been in positions where I've worked way more than 40 hours a week. Cause like I said, that was always just work hard than everybody else. Mm-hmm. So kids has really taught me that when I wake up in the morning, it's crucial when they wake up to feel loved. So waking up with them, getting them up, making them food, spending time with them intentionally. And then after I get home from work, it's at 5:30, 6 o'clock to whenever I put them down that's my family time. I really try to stay off the phone. I think, as you know, it's impossible. People are going to call you. There's something that's going to come up, but trying to be very intentional with your time of when I'm at work, this is work, Stephen. This is my focus. But when I'm home, this is dad, this is husband, and not letting the outside noise try to detract away from that.
I think that's a challenge that you will have until your kids go to college, right? Mine's 15, so we've got 2.5 years left of her at home, and it's still a challenge. Last night, of course, I worked from home yesterday during the snow, and of course, they were out of school, and she's out of school today again. And my wife worked from home yesterday, and so I did take some time yesterday and just took my daughter to lunch because I'm like, I need to go do something with her.
Yeah.
And so then I had to go run some errands late, and then came back. I was fixing dinner, and then after dinner, I'm calling a client. My family's sitting there right in front of me, and they're just so used to that happening. It's the client had a need; they're ready to start the process, and so I talk to them at night.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have long conversations like that very often, but that was pretty short. But it's just always been a challenge, right? I think if you want to be mediocre, then you work 9 to 5, right? There's a whole lot of this, new work-life balance things. I think especially that the millennials and younger generations are talking about even more so. And I think, is that important? Absolutely. And I think there's something to learn from that. From I'm a Gen Xer. I don't know if you're in that range, probably a little younger than that, but I think there's something to learn from that, but at the same time, I think ultimately the people that work the hardest are going to succeed the most. And so you have to figure out a way to fit that work-life balance in. So I told you I'm an ECU guy, so I was like a work hard, play hard.
Yep.
So fortunately, my family likes to play hard, and we like to do and travel a lot. But at the same time, I may have to make phone calls while we're there. It's just part of the gig.
Yeah.
Excellent. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you, and you've got such a broad amount of different things that you've done to get you where you are today. And I think what resonates with me specifically about you, that why you had the success that you had, is without a doubt the work ethic. You certainly have learned, I'm sure, from your dad earlier on, and obviously the military has certainly pressed that. Any last kind of comments? Anything else that you want to mention before we kind of wrap up?
I think my big thing for people is really give and expect nothing in return. I think that really is the mantra, or of what the hard work really means. Because you can work hard and work hard at nothing. We're all guilty of that. Just, I checked the box. But I think if you can try to give to other people and expect nothing in return, that's where the true dividend of hard work really comes from. I think that that's just the work-life balance. Like, yes, that's important. It does exist, but I think we've kind of used that as a slogan without understanding the true meaning of it. Yes, take your time off, do things that make you restful, that make you feel balanced, spend time with your family. But when you're there, like, really, really put in to the grind and give to other people, and just don't expect them to give you anything back.
Yeah.
The world has a funny way of figuring that out for you if you kind of can take that and do it.
The law of reciprocity, right, is the way that works. That's very, very selfless of you to have that thought of give and expecting nothing in return. And I think a lot of people want to feel that way, but in the back of our head or mind, it's always, I sure hope I get this, right? I think we'd be better business people, we'd be better spouses, we'd be better employers if we did more of that, right? If we did more expecting nothing back. And let that take care of itself. Man, I really appreciate you kind of finishing with that. It's a great thought to kind of be in my head for the rest of the day. And I just want to thank you so much for your time, Stephen. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. This has been great, and really, really appreciate it. And thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. So if you've enjoyed this, please be sure and like, subscribe, please comment below as well. We are certainly trying to grow our channel and want to make sure we get this in front of as many eyes as possible. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope to see you very soon on the next one.